streaming all the Oscar movies from our couch tonight on Whiskey Business. Good evening, everybody, America, Ohio, and anybody else who might be tuning in. Welcome to Palm Harbor, Florida, where I am broadcasting from live tonight on Facebook and on the YouTubes as well. Palm Harbor, Florida. You say why? That's in the background is my mother's condominium. My mom's had some outpatient surgery, and I came down to help out my sister and to kind of make sure she mends properly. It's the only time in our relationship where I've been able to tell my mother to go to her room for a while and chill out. So she's in her room watching one of the Hallmark channels. I don't know which one, as we do our little fun thing here on Whiskey Business, which I'm excited about because Oscar season is rolling around again. The Academy Awards are fast approaching. So tonight, our guests will be Hope Madden and George Wolf from the screening room, what we have now considered to be an annual thing, if you will, in respects to who's nominated, who's going to win, who got snubbed, et cetera, et cetera. They've got a really good track record as far as picking the winners. So if you're involved in Oscar pools, this might be a good one for you to tune into and pay attention and take some notes along the way. It's been an interesting year as far as watching our Oscar fodder. We've watched it all from home. You have no excuses for not seeing all the nominated films. They've been streaming right through your home in various ways, shapes, and forms. The only reason you didn't see any of these films is because you chose not to, because they were available through Hulu, Amazon, HBO Max, the Netflix, which brings up another point. We've all talked about in the last few years about cutting the cord. Pretty soon we're going to have to shut off the stream because streaming is costing just as much as cable, if not more, before it's all said and done. But I gotta admit, it was kind of nice to be able to watch all of these films and not leave my couch, even though I do miss the experience of going to the big theater and seeing things on the big screen. I wonder if we'll ever do that again on a regular basis. Hope and George will chime in on that as well. So yeah, I'm excited for tonight. I have questions about some of these films, some of these performances. Some of these selections for some of the categories have mystified me once again. I'm sure Hope and George will explain it all to me, and I'm sure Hope will. I know that Hope will correct me on many a pronunciation of some of the people who are not. She has done each and every year because it's an interesting collection of people. There's a lot of diversity in this year's nominations, which is an excellent thing. So before we do that, let's say hi to our video man, John Whitney, who makes this all possible to see everybody live. And of course, our audio boy. It sounds like a
there's an Oscar category for best audio boy.
Video man and his sidekick, audio boy. Fighting crime and injustice all across the internet. Hansberry, how are you?
Hey. I'm good. And you're making me feel bad because I only saw half the movies. So thanks for that.
Yeah, me too,
I said that on purpose because I know both of you were commenting earlier when we were texting, I haven't seen everything I'm supposed to. And I told John, maybe if he hadn't watched the past season of The Mandalorian 3 times.
I only watched it twice.
I had to rewatch WandaVision just so I could figure out what was going on.
That's the problem. There's all these great television were happening all year. But plus, I work, and then, I get lazy, and then my life gets away, man. Life gets away from me.
All right, well, you watch a hell of a lot of kids shows. If there's a kids category, I'm right there. I'm right there with you.
you cut me deep. You got me on lazy, which I am, and you got me on work, which I'm not. So,
Yeah.
so now we're even for all the movies I've seen that you haven't. Our guest bottle this evening, before we get to this, I just want to show it to you. Hansberry's got a little business to do. Oregon Spirit. This is compliments of my brother-in-law. Since I'm in Florida, I'm drinking some of his hard-to-find remnants that I normally get on Thanksgiving, but we did not have Thanksgiving in Tennessee this past year. So he dropped off some of these for me. I'll tell you a little bit more about this after we get to the business, and then Hope and George, and off we go to the Oscars. Hansberry, the quick business.
Well, welcome to Whiskey Business, and welcome to the Fright Club and Screening Room podcast listeners who might be checking us out. That's, of course, Hope and George's podcast. We'll tell you a little bit more about as we get cooking here. But you can find everything you need to know about Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey, at whiskeybusinesspod.com. A bunch of our archives, episodes, and videos will be there. Also, if you want to, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting app, thank you very much, and make sure you hit subscribe and rate and review us. But you can also watch this nonsense on YouTube, Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis, or on our Facebook feed. We also have an Instagram account, Facebook. I already said Facebook, Twitter. And Discovery Plus. We're on Discovery Plus.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
No.
We're not on Discovery Plus. You will discover quickly that we are not on Discovery Plus. But I like how you keep throwing one bogus one in there. Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe someday. Somebody will say, this Whiskey Business, we can turn it into something for the Discovery Channel or Discovery Plus. Who knows?
Yeah.
Crazier things that happen. Let's say hi to George Wolf and Hope Madden. Introduce the guest.
There they are.
A little bit about that as well. Hello, children.
Hello.
I love the picture that was posted on Instagram, teasing this particular podcast. You look like conjoined husband and wife. You're connected,
like something like this.
Connected. I mean, that's love right there. That is love. Love for film and love for each other to do what you guys do. We're excited to hear what you have to say about the films this year. It's been an interesting year, to say the least. I know you guys aren't big whiskey drinkers. Normally when we sit across from each other live, like we have in previous years, I've gone with a bottom shelf whiskey because, you guys
Don't waste it. There you go. George has got something.
George, what are you drinking?
I've got your bottle from last time from our buddy Pat Byrne. I've got his Bua Irish whiskey.
Oh, nice.
And Hope, what was that a sip of?
Diet Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi, your go-to standby. Yeah.
Yes.
This is Oregon. This is Oregon Spirit, single barrel, bottled in bond, straight bourbon whiskey from Bend, Oregon. And this particular craft distillery does everything. They make it, they bake it, they label it, they bottle it. They do everything there in Bend, Oregon. And it's interesting to get a single barrel bottle and bond. The single barrel means that each one of these barrels that have made up a bottle and bond are going to taste just a little bit different. And I found this one, John Whitney was asking me, how is it? I found it to be very complicated right out of the gate. When I first took the first whiff of it, I got a big dose of brown sugar, which intrigued me. And then I tasted it, and it was like full of molasses and caramel and vanilla. And then the finish was kind of spicy and peppery. So I looked at the mash bill, and it's a 4-grain mash bill. It's got wheat, it's got corn, it's got malted barley, and of course some rye, which explains the peppery. It's almost like it's trying to do too much in one bottle.
Calm down.
It's not bad, but it retails for like $75 a bottle. Ooh. And I don't think
whiskey's making me tired.
Yeah, I don't think it's a beautiful bottle. I mean, this is one of those bottles that you would save for something. I don't know what, but for something. I mean, it's got a nice base and it's got a nice little. It's just a nice piece of glass. Yeah, it's a nice piece of glass, is what that is. But overall, my friend Jamie and I were talking earlier. We're hesitant about spirits, bourbons that come from the West. Mm-hmm. The further we get away from Kentucky. But this one isn't bad. I just don't know that I would spend. It's good. It's not great to me just yet. Maybe it'll grow on me as the podcast goes on.
Drink a little bit more. You'll
Usually
like it.
booze starts tasting better the more you
Good loving
deeper into the
everybody.
evening, right?
Well, I tried it first, and now I got some ice to open it up and maybe separate some of those other flavors that are going in there. But it's a very complicated bourbon. But I know they spend a lot of time and effort on it because it's got to be at least 4 years old or older. And bottle and bond, we've discussed that before. Single year, single distillation season, one place only, has to be 100 proof. And the fact that it's a single barrel makes it kind of unique as well. Anyway, that's our guest bottle. I don't know what number it is. I have to look on the chart to see, but I know we're into the
160, wasn't it?
We had to get close to bottle 160.
This is 160.
Nearly as many movies or bottles, less bottles than George and Hope have seen movies. How many movies did you see from Oscar season to Oscar season? Go out. I'm always amazed by that number.
Well, we only actually tracked it 1 year, counted every movie, and it was for the year it was 354.
Yeah, although I guarantee we saw more this year because even though it may not seem like it, they released more this year. And last year, in years past, we have only reviewed films that were released theatrically. So if it went directly to streaming services, we didn't because we just didn't have time. This year, there was no difference. There was no way to tell. So we reviewed everything. So I would say that we probably reviewed, I would say we saw nearly twice as many films. I would put us around at least.
Wow.
I believe it.
Wow.
That's what that was the comment I was going to make. The lines have clearly blurred between what's just a Netflix release and what's an Oscar-worthy film.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking off camera. We were talking about the Godzilla versus King Kong. When you can watch Godzilla versus King Kong, and then later that night watch Nomadland. I mean, when you can have those two choices right there in front of you, and talk about palettes.
Yeah.
You talk about your movie palette changing quickly. When you have the access, does that change? Does that emotionally or psychologically kind of change your opinions on things watching these Oscar-nominated films at home as opposed to the big screen in the theater? Because I know you guys watch a lot of films on screeners.
Yeah, we do. There's been a few throughout the year that we still got back to the theater for, but some more than others make me miss the big screen. Godzilla Kong was definitely a big screen movie. Some you don't miss it as much, but I think it's just one of the things that is one of the changes that we've seen because of the pandemic that's going to stick around. We're just going to see a continued effort by studios to do day and date on some movies, not all, but it's one of those things that you can't put it back in the bottle. It's people want it. And I think it's going to hang around for at least some movies.
There are some films that I think, Nomadland is one, and it's nominated for Best Cinematography. I think it's going to win for Best Cinematography, and it's one that would have really been great to see on a great big screen. Mank is another one. Yeah. It doesn't just have to be like the big explosion event movies. Every year, the films that are nominated for Best Cinematography, you'd rather have gotten to catch on a big screen.
Yeah.
And then there are others like Promising Young Woman, which we loved, but that would be a totally different movie in a room full of people
with a crowd. Sure.
Oh my God, I've seen it with a crowd.
All right, let's divert for just a second because that movie's nominated for Best Picture, also Best Actress, and also Best Director, I think, as well.
And screenplay, original screenplay.
Yeah, it's got a lot going for it. Now, why would that movie be received completely differently, in your opinion, in the theater as opposed to home?
I feel like anytime you see a movie that is so sort of full of twists and surprises and shocks, it's more fun to experience that with other people than just sitting by yourself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does have it's a fun movie. I'm not surprised it comes from the people that are responsible for Killing Eve, because it's got that vibe. I love Killing Eve, so some of the people that are involved in that motion picture are also involved in that TV show. But we'll talk about the actual performance in that film and what its chances are, as far as you two are concerned, of walking away with Best Picture. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not going to win Best Picture as far as what you two are thinking.
No, it's not.
Actually, I think it has a good shot at winning Best Original Screenplay.
I do too.
But
Okay.
I think that would be the only thing.
Yeah.
Let's toss that out there now because that's not one of the categories we're going to get into because of time. We're going to hit the major categories.
Mhm.
Not that screenplay shouldn't be a major category. I think we have, but I've been chastised in the past for going too deep on this podcast.
I think the first one of these we did, it went like 2.5 hours long. We did everything we possibly could.
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
But
You know,
that's only half as long as an Oscar telecast.
That's
So what's
right.
the problem?
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
we're ahead of the game.
Yeah. So before we start digging into the categories, tell us about the Oscars this year. How are they going to be broadcast? What are we expected to see? Is it going to be a virtual affair, much like the other things? Are they going live? I mean, they have to go live on some level.
Yeah, I think I'm not entirely sure. I think everything that I've read so far, they definitely have. They watched the Golden Globes and they learned that was a big old train wreck.
Yeah.
And so I think they are setting down some ground rules, but I'm not sure exactly. Other than the fact that they want to make sure it's not the utter cluster F that the Golden Globes was.
Yeah, I know. Early on, they were saying that you had to attend. And so I don't know.
And not wear a hoodie.
Be all spread out and not have other audience members, but have. So I'm not, and there was a lot of pushback. There were a lot of people who said they weren't going to do that. So it's I'm not sure that it's been really determined exactly what they're going to do, whether it's going to be virtual or hybrid.
Interesting. Yeah, because I watched the SAG Awards were kind of interesting that they went ahead and did that and wrapped it up neatly in a nice little in 1 hour and got everything done. And I was completely satisfied, with that piece of production. So can I see an Oscar telecast that might be wrapped up neatly in a 2-hour package?
Might make it worth it.
We can dream.
We can dream. All right. So shall we get to it then, kids? Shall we? All right. Get to the nitty gritty of it all. Let's go from supporting and work our way up, because this will also be one of my first questions that I have an issue with. Not an issue, but just maybe you two can explain to me why I love a certain performance. Oh, wait a minute. Is she nominated for supporting actress, or is she actually nominated for best actress?
Why are you asking us? We don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the movie Minari.
Okay.
About the movie Minari.
Oh, Minari.
Minari.
Young Jun Yoon, she's nominated for supporting. I think the actress for that would have been the woman who played his wife. I think she would have been the lead.
Yeah. Okay. And then the best supporting actress in that movie was the grandma.
Yes.
Yep.
Who I loved. I loved every scene she was in.
Yeah.
But the movie overall.
Now, see, that's interesting, because you are one of the few besides myself that have. I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as I know Hope loved it, and I totally respect that. But I'm kind of with you. It left me a little bit lackluster. Although she was great, the cast was great. And I think that she is going to win.
Yes.
She was terrific.
Yeah.
She and Hope, say her name for me again, because you were always correct me on her pronunciation.
It's Young Jun Young.
Young Jun, yeah. And where have we seen her before? I've never seen her before. Have I seen her before?
She hasn't done a lot of American films. She's been around. I think the first film we saw her in was Insect Woman from 1973, which is terrible, by the way. She's done a lot of pretty major South Korean films, and she's always wonderful.
It's just as soon as she popped into the film, and every scene she was in, and the fact that I got sad when she, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it.
No.
I'll just say when she gets ill. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
When she gets ill, broke my heart. But George, a good word. A little lackluster. I know it was a small slice of life from this family, but I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. At least not. I don't think it should. But she should win for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I think if there's any chance of an upset for me, it would be Maria Bakalova from Borat.
Right.
I think could possibly pull that upset, but originally I thought she had more of a chance of an upset than I do now. All the momentum is with Grandma from Minari, I think.
Yeah. She's won all the major awards coming into this, including SAG, which is it's a big, there's a lot of crossover vote there. She won the BAFTAs last week and was hilarious in her acceptance speech by thanking the very snobby British for this award. So I think also everybody loves her at this point. So she's a pretty sure bet, I think.
Yeah, she's got Maria from the Borat movie, Glenn Close from Hillbilly Elegy, which everybody trashed that movie.
Terrible
we
movie.
Hated it.
Yeah,
we hated it
movie.
so much.
Olivia Colman. Now, is that a supporting actress part, or is that be considered a Best Actress?
No, it's a smaller part. She's great because she's always great, and everybody in that movie is fantastic. But it's definitely a supporting role. But I think that she just won a couple of years ago, so I think as great as she is, she's not going to win.
Right.
We'll come back to Sir Anthony Hopkins and whether or not he walks away with the Oscar as opposed to some other people. And I loved Amanda. Is it Seyfried or Seyfried? I never could say it right.
Seyfried.
Seyfried.
Pick the
We've
third.
been mispronouncing it for 15 years.
We've messed up too.
Mank was probably the first Oscar fodder film that I watched with because number one, I love Citizen Kane. Number two, I was fascinated with the story of Mr. Mankiewicz and all that stuff and the history of it. And she was great. And I thought, okay, everybody was touting her for the Academy Award, but then these other films started to get released and other performances started to show up. And so she doesn't, if there was a second run, who would it be out of that group? Just out of curiosity, a supporting actress.
For me, it'd be Maria Bakalova from Borat too.
I think he's saying if they're like a third place. Or he's saying like a third place. So I think we both agree that if there was an upset, it would be Maria Bakalova.
Yeah. A third place, probably Amanda.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
What about a participation trophy?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be the year where everybody gets one just because? All right. Best actor in a supporting role. Here's where I had some issues as well because I don't know what they were thinking, but you got Sacha Baron Cohen. Okay, Trial of Chicago 7, playing Abby Hoffman.
Yeah.
Then you got Daniel Kaluuya and Judas and the Black Messiah, and then you got Lakeith Stanfield and Judas and the Black.
It makes no sense.
These two are going to cancel each other out.
Yeah, it does beg the question: who's the lead?
Right.
Is it Judas or is it the Black Messiah? I feel like it's got to be one of them.
Right. Exactly. So which is it?
Yeah. It really was a head scratcher. We're right there with you.
Yeah.
We do not understand it at all. I mean, if you're going to go through who the movie's point of view is from Lakeith Stanfield's eyes, so you would say, okay, he is the lead.
Who I love, by the way. Everything I've seen him in.
Yeah, he's great, and this movie is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
But Daniel Kaluuya basically burns a hole through the screen.
Yeah.
He is so good. If anybody else wins in this category, I think it's a crime.
Yes, I agree.
But we totally agree with you on the mess up of the categories.
Yeah. So, which should one of them have been in the best actor category overall?
I think Lakeith Stanfield was the lead. So I think, I don't think, I'm not sure he made the cut, which might have been why voters put him there. But what's interesting is that usually when that happens, it's because the film or the studio recommended, they do that. They send you for your consideration and they recommend people for different categories. But he was being pushed for actor and the Academy voters voted him as supporting actor.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's even more befuddling.
It is. It's very weird.
Okay. So Daniel gets it, in your opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I watched that, and on the heels of that movie, I watched Trial of Chicago 7, which was, and I'm curious to see. I said, I wonder if I would have reversed the order and watched Trial of Chicago 7 first, and then this one second. It was interesting to see a small piece of that story
Yeah.
in Trial of Chicago 7, but to but to see it, the true story expanded, and once again, just jaw dropping. And I keep using the word spoiler alert because I was not aware of the demise of his character. That I wasn't aware, historically speaking, that it went the way it went.
Yeah.
Sure.
In such a violent fashion. So, but the movie overall was really, really good. And do you find that you are more lenient unconsciously watching these films at home? I'll ask you again. I'm going to pound this whole theater as opposed to living room conversation back. Do you find that you're more absorbed in these films, watching them at home, and able to pause and do whatever you want, or rewind, or whatever the case might be, as opposed to that big screen experience, just the one and done, and you walk out of the theater and go, that was okay, or
I think we're a little different than most people. We're really trained to have it either way, because we've always had, the bigger films, they screen for critics at theaters, but the smaller films don't have the opportunity or the funds, marketing funds to do that. So there are an awful lot of films for years and years that we've watched to review as screener links. So on the computer. And I think there are benefits and drawbacks to both. This movie we saw online, we saw as a trailer, as a screener link. I would have loved to see it on a big screen. I was so impressed by this film, by everything about this film, especially from Shaka King, a filmmaker who hasn't done a lot. It doesn't feel like that. This feels like somebody who's made 10 movies, who understands the genre, and it never felt like a biopic to me. It felt like a 60s, 70s gritty thriller, and
Cool.
this was one that I missed seeing on a big screen.
Yeah. And I know for me, and I think you're similar, I try never to pause unless I absolutely have to. I think that interrupts it. I will go back if it's a movie, say, filled with dates and facts and figures. I will at the end maybe rewind a little bit to make sure I've got it right. But I try never to stop and pause. I want to get the entire thing, even all 4 hours of Justice League, start to finish.
I have not done that yet. I have not done a 4 hours of Justice League. Is it worth it?
I think so. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's worth 4 hours out of my.
It is.
Let's just take a quick peek at some of the comments as we go along. First of all, there's some nice hellos. Hi, Sweet Hope and George from Krista.
Hi, Krista.
There's some people who are already commenting on certain movies that we've mentioned or briefly mentioned. Liz Hollingshead says, I love The Father. We'll get to that in a second. I don't know what my odd hand gesture was for supporting actor and actress was.
That's something we're going to have to go back to the tapes and watch. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on.
You're trying to find your word. You did something.
I mentioned that Hillbilly Elegy was trash, but Robert says I disagree. One of the best movies of the year. Mank was a snooze fest, which I disagree with Robert because I love Mank. But once again, if you
great.
know the history, then you might find it to be a little bit of like, what the hell am I watching? So let's move on now. We've got our winners in Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Let's go to Best Actress in a Leading Role. Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. She was amazing.
Oh.
Andrew Day, The United States versus Billie Holiday. I got my thoughts on that film as well. Vanessa Kirby, gut-wrenching in Pieces of a Woman.
Yeah.
Frances McDormand in Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan in Promising Young Woman.
These are all incredible. These are all incredible performances, all so deserving. And this was a tough call. I think just in our own conversations, we were going back and forth just till the other day.
Yeah, I do really think that this is the tightest category. I think that it could go a lot of different directions, and there's no real consensus. I don't think, even in terms of sort of the wins coming into this. I think we would both lean Viola Davis. I got to admit that I'm biased. She's my favorite working actress. I think
she's incredible.
She's a god. So, but also she won the SAG, and you know, whenever there's a really tight race,
Right.
specifically for the acting categories, that's usually the push over the cliff.
Yep. And I believe Frances McDormand has won twice, and Viola has only won for supporting. Is that correct?
Yeah, she has.
So I think maybe that's another little mark I might put in her
Right,
column. But
right.
the SAG, winning the SAG, I think put it over for us. But this is a very tight race, and they're all so good.
Yeah.
So who could win?
Well, they're saying that Viola Davis, you think Viola Davis should win?
So should or could, right?
I think she should and could.
Yeah.
And probably will, although it's so close over Frances McDormand.
Frances McDormand. And you know who those would be our 1 and 2. We think Viola Davis. We think Frances McDormand is probably her toughest competition, although I think that Andra Day has a shot. I think that she got some momentum coming in, and my God, that was a great performance. I don't know how many people saw it, and it's not a great movie. It's a good movie, but it's not a great movie.
Thank you.
But my God, she's good.
Yeah,
she is amazing. It's almost like I know the premise of the movie is this sting operation that the FBI is doing, and so forth. But it's almost like I want to take her out of that movie with all the gifts that she has and put her in a real biopic about Billie Holiday and let it roll, because she saves that movie. I mean, the movie overall is not great, but she is amazing as Billie Holiday.
And I believe it's her first movie.
Yeah.
To have that as your debut performance is just incredible.
I mean, it's just like, I said, wow. Like I went in very low. Okay, Billie Holiday movie, but she blew me away.
Yes.
The movie overall,
Lee Daniels, you know, he's got a style. You either get behind it or you don't. It's very sort of pulpy always.
Very pulpy,
it's very pulpy always. And I think that a lot of times that can make the film entertaining in its own way, but it keeps it, I think, from ever becoming really a great movie. And that's unfortunate, because that performance deserved a great movie.
you can't take your eyes off of her.
No.
Yeah, she's brilliant as Billie Holiday. One of my favorite portrayals of her in film. Frances McDormand. I mean, that was that everybody keeps saying that she's a front runner, and that she's and some people would say she's a lock for Nomadland, which Hansberry was watching this afternoon. Hansberry, be honest, say what you said.
Well, I halfway took a break, and I texted the guys, I hope this is an M. Night Shyamalan movie with some crazy twist at the end, or else I think I've had my fill. It was a slow burn, and as Dinos told me, it was a slow burn. Stick with it. But I will say, and the question I had to ask you guys was, were they using actors or real life like van dwellers in a lot of that?
Everyone in that film were non-actors.
Just David Strathairn and Frances McDormand, and everybody else was just one of the people who lives like that.
Yeah, real.
Yeah. So I don't know. How would that affect?
I'll go back to it when I have another hour. I'll finish it.
My question to you two is that Frances McDormand acting, or is that just Frances being who she is these last handful of years?
I think that's a good question. I feel like she may be the only, Oscar caliber actor that we have who could fit in that naturally in that style of performance. I don't think it's fair to take away her acting prowess and say she's just kind of hanging out and being goofy, because she is really an epic performer. But she's also, she has no sort of, like style me up and make me look good. There's no artifice. There's no artifice to her performances, which is why she fits in so well.
And I gotta be honest with you, in the past year, who hasn't fantasized, or I know it takes place during the recession, but who hasn't just had that thought of just like, fuck it, and get in a van and go and experience. I know I have.
Yeah.
I've thought about it many a time in this past year. I've been like, just screw it. I could burn everything down to the ground, sell everything off, get a little nicer van. Something where if I had to take
didn't have to use a bucket.
Yeah, exactly. I could do a little bit better than that.
He would need the 7-gallon bucket for sure.
That's right.
But and then we'll get into the director field here in a second. What a beautifully directed
Oh yes.
as well. I mean, and shot and edited and so forth, and everything that you want. Yeah, Hansberry. I stole the slow burn comment from Whitney, who had seen it before I did, and said it's a slow burn, but it's well worth it. And I totally agree with what John Whitney said. I love this movie, and I loved her performance. And it's interesting that you mentioned Viola Davis and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, because I thought she was amazing too. But all eyes were on Chadwick Boseman, who we'll talk about here in just a moment as well, because he was amazing. It's like all this at your disposal, streaming through your living room, so you can go back and watch it again and again if you want to, and try to determine. But it's a close race between France and Viola as far as you two are concerned, with Viola getting the nod.
Yep.
Before it's all said and done. I only wish that and maybe it would have been too cliche of she didn't seem any happier, Frances McDormand, by the time that movie was all said and done. I mean, she didn't seem any more.
As far as an arc of her character?
Yeah. She didn't seem all that better for her experiences.
Yeah, I think it was commenting on the life, the life, what this life does to people, with the way once her character becomes friendly with David Strathairn's character, and then choices that she could have possibly made and maybe doesn't want to, or affected by her life on the road. And now that's a part of her, and the community of people that she's fallen in with has just affected her so deeply. I think that that's who she is now.
Okay. All right.
She wasn't a ghost the whole time, right? For sure.
No.
Not a M. Night Shyamalan on the ending. No ghost. Okay. No ghost. Sorry, pal. I know you wanted something spectacular to be that way.
The man was the ghost.
Mystery Machine.
Now we get to the best actor in a leading role, and once again, a lot of good. Well, okay, I got my Riz Ahmed, Sound of Metal. Great movie, great performance. We'll get to him in a second. Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Anthony Hopkins, who continues to amaze as the father. Gary Oldman as Herman Mankiewicz and Mank, and Glenn from the Walking Dead in Minari, which I know I say that kind of as a throwaway. He was really good as the father in Minari. He was, but I'm eliminating him out of the mix as far as best actor in a motion picture for the Oscar. Though I think he was really good in that movie, and like I said, the movie overall was good. I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
Like some people have. And so who's winning?
Well, I think Chadwick Boseman. This is a lock of locks. And when you say that, immediately people think, well, yes, because he tragically passed away. But it's not a gift. He deserves it. He is so good in this movie. Yeah. All these nominees are great.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Hopkins, this is a movie that reminds you how great he is, because he's a guy that doesn't say no a lot. He works a lot. And that includes some bad movies where he maybe is phoning it in a little bit, but not in this movie. No. He's tremendous in a movie that will just tear your heart out. Yeah. And he's a big reason for that. And he definitely deserves it. But yeah, he's not going to win. No. Chadwick Boseman is going to win, and he deserves to.
Yeah, Gary Oldman is another one.
Oh yeah,
God, he's so good in that movie. I love him, but he also just recently won, and I don't think that he has a shot. I would give it to Riz Ahmed. I loved that performance. I love him, and I'm so happy to see him finally sort of break through into the mainstream and be more well known. I thought he was great in that. If I could give it to anybody, though, it would be Delroy Lindo from The Five Bloods, but he didn't get nominated, so I can't.
And Chadwick Boseman was in The Five Bloods.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, right. So you talk about, everybody said, a posthumous award. Chip said posthumous Oscar, well deserved. No, not because he's gone. I mean, the man had incredible range, gifts, and talents, which were shortened by his too soon death.
Yeah.
I can't imagine some of the stuff that was still yet to come out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't always. This is an August Wilson role, so this is the greatest role he's ever gotten. And it gives him an opportunity to be all kinds of things. Like it's such a range of emotions that this character hits from the beginning to the end of this film, and also to be able to. I know he's been in a number of movies with Viola Davis, but to be able to really hold your ground when she is at top form is in itself, I think, speaks to his talent.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's, for Marvel to say, yeah, we're not going to make any more Black Panther movies without him, we're not going to find somebody to take his place. They haven't found anybody to take his place, have they?
No.
No.
They're going to move forward with the franchise, but they're not going to replace him as Black Panther.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, and to be able to, that's the amazing thing too. When you think about what he did in that movie,
Yeah.
and what he, in a superhero movie, in a superhero franchise, to be able to bring that type of humanity and something extra to just a superhero character, and then do all this other work. I mean,
such a lot.
I was watching just it's a damn shame to see what he still had to give and won't be able to. I'm thinking of some of the great screen actors of our generation. I was watching In the Heat of the Night on Turner Classic Movies the other night with Sidney Poitier, and I thought of Chadwick Boseman, and I thought of Sidney Poitier, and I thought of Lilies of the Field, and I thought about just the strength and the grace and the beauty that one actor can bring to the screen and emote on the screen. And then, Sidney, they were talking about the year that Sidney Poitier was in The Heat of the Night. He had also done Guess Who's Coming to Dinner as well. There was he was in 3 films in that year. They were all great. And he wasn't even nominated for In the Heat of the Night. Best actor nomination and win went to Rod Steiger for playing the chief of police. But that's what resonated with me. Like, wow, Chadwick Boseman cut short. We got so much still to come from that guy that that unfortunately we're not going to get.
Yep.
Get at all. So
too bad.
Sad. But you think he's the lock for the Oscar for Best Actor?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on, shall we? We go to Best Director, which has 4 directors with films that are also selected for Best Picture, and 1 director whose film is not in the Best Picture category, which, as you both know through the years that we've done this podcast, that annoys the
doesn't make sense. I know.
For Best Director, and they can squeeze another film into the Best Picture category, but choose not to. It just makes me crazy. Because
it's a producing award. Come on, we know this.
This another round right up your alley, Dino.
Thomas Vinterberg for a movie.
The theory they improve their lives by maintaining a constant level of alcohol in their blood. That just sounds like whiskey business.
Yeah.
Where's our nomination?
Thomas Vinterberg, Another Round, which is an interesting little film about alcohol. Hansberry. David Fincher for Mank. Hope, help me out here. Lee Isaac Chung, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
For Minari? Okay. We were going back and forth with Chloe.
Chloe Zhao.
Zhao?
Zhao. Yep.
Zhao for Nomadland, and Emerald Fennell, or is it Fennell? I don't know.
Fennell.
Okay, for Promising Young Women. Best Director of a Motion Picture.
This is one that 4 of the 5 are well deserved. We do not understand that Thomas Vinterberg nomination. We really don't. It's a fine movie. It's not a director's type movie.
No, it's nominated for Best Foreign Language Film.
Yeah.
But how Shaka King didn't get in here, I don't understand. For Judas and the Black Messiah.
Or I would even go someone like Regina King for One Night in Miami. Right. I would go down a list of a lot of people before I got to him.
Yeah.
This really surprised both of us.
Right.
So okay, so I'm not alone here in that sentiment that there should have been somebody else in that spot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Chloe Zhao's going to win.
Yay!
Yeah. I mean, I would probably. I think Mank was such a tremendous director's vision. The way that thing was put together from start to finish. I know it didn't work for everybody. The style that he took for that, and if you weren't all in, I could see how you would hate it. I loved it. I loved the whole vision of what he did with it. I would probably, my heart would give it to him, but I think you're probably right. I think all signs are pointing to Chloe Zhao to win this, and she was great as well. For totally in a totally different stylistic type of movie. I think she's probably going to win.
Yeah, she's also nominated for the screenplay and the producer and best picture. And I think in a much more laid back way, though, it's as much of a director's picture. It's not, and it's, if you've seen her other films, if you haven't, you should. The Rider in particular, she has a very specific way of making films, and this is, I think, the most any of them have been seen. They're really a weird love affair with American poverty and freedom, because her characters are poor, right? This woman is poor. She doesn't live in a van only because she's decided to. She doesn't really have any other choice, but she makes the best of it. And Rider is very similar. And I think that her approach to filmmaking is so different than anything else you're going to find, that I'm thrilled that people are embracing it this year.
I actually think that that film was probably more difficult to make than other films that directors would attack, because with that style of film, when you're working with non-actors and you're basically running into moments that you're capturing on the fly a lot of times, right? And to make those decisions during production, that is a difficult job. She deserves to win. She deserves to win just because of that, I think.
Yeah.
And as much as we both loved Promising Young Woman, and Emerald Fennell did a great job, I think the screenplay is what's going to take home the award and get Emerald Fennell some hardware for that. I think the screenplay is there, but we both love that movie.
Yeah,
it's a very clever movie, and it's like, am I watching a comedy? Am I watching a drama? What am I watching? But
it was bizarre.
It doesn't matter. I'm entertained either way, and she was great in it as well. So yeah, however that goes for them is going to be a good thing. But screenplay would be a good. I hope it gets something. At this point. But best director would go to Chloe. What was the line, Francis? I'm not homeless. I'm houseless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people would say that the whole movie had to what you were saying, John Whitney, had a documentary feel to it.
Yeah.
So
99% natural lighting, man. You're just shooting from the hip, baby.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about the fact that Chloe's going to step her game up and enter the Marvel universe with the Eternals?
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled, actually. I'm very, very nervous about that. I'll be eager to see. I'm hoping that she can change them, not vice versa. But I'm nervous.
There's a lot of money riding in those movies, man.
Like, you get these,
a lot of scared producers out there.
There you go, John. Natural lighting, so forth and so on. And then, I don't know what the budget was on Nomadland, but I guarantee you it's a fraction of that they're spending on the Eternals. It seems like they find these great directors and they just, look what we got.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Marvel Universe, a lot of money.
I know.
Yeah. But
so when you say you're concerned, Hope, I get that. Will it change her? Will it change her as a filmmaker?
I'm a Chloe Zhao fan long time. This is her third feature, and I have been massively impressed by all of them. And I don't want to see her in a Marvel box. I don't.
But I think if we can take a little bit of an example from, they took Bowden and Fleck and gave them Captain Marvel,
right?
And I thought it was quite impressive.
Yeah.
So
and pretty different from Marvel.
So you can maybe use that as a little bit of a hopeful sign.
I don't know. Big bucks Marvel,
Yeah. Big blow up vans. As many vans as you want, we'll blow them up.
Take all the money she'll make directing the Eternals and make a bevy of films that hopefully will stay in the wheelhouse that you love and appreciate now.
You know, she's got to be thinking that. She's going, I can take that and make my dream project, you know.
Right.
Right.
That's
You know,
true.
we've heard that one for them, one for me sort of
Yeah.
strategy from
Right.
other
Yeah.
actors and filmmakers that go back and forth. So maybe she'll fall into that.
Maybe.
So the best director is Chloe. Does her film get Best Picture as well?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I
Here we go. Let's run down the list. We have The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yeah, and right away, I'm kind of like you. Right away, I count up. I say there are 8. Right? You're allowed to have 10. Can we
Yeah.
do 2 more? Because I can rattle off Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Soul, Pixar's Soul. I would put in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's just have 10 because this year, for sure, there are at least 2 more deserving films. But you know, Nomadland everything seems to be pointing that way. I think lately, though, for what it's worth, you're starting to hear a little more talk back especially about the Amazon portion of it, especially after Amazon just didn't vote to unionize. And there's some more chatter about how the film portrays working at Amazon, maybe a little more romanticized than it really is. Of course, we can't speak to that, but I mean, that's the criticisms. That's
Those are the criticisms, but should it affect whether or not it wins the Oscar?
Well, should it affect really doesn't matter whether
Right.
it should or shouldn't. Here's the
Right.
thing, and I think we talked about this last year. It's really hard to determine sometimes what's going to win Best Picture because it's hard to use the other markers moving forward. People vote on Best Picture differently than on all of the other categories. And so, for example, a lot of times you use SAG because there's so much overlap. Well, this movie wasn't nominated for a SAG because there's only 2 Screen Actors Guild actors in it, right? So it really wasn't eligible. So it didn't win ensemble, which can be sort of the safe thing, right? Ensemble picture. And so it's hard to say. But also the way they vote for Best Picture, you vote multiple times for the final candidates. So everybody votes for what they think should win Best Picture. Then they drop the bottom 3 and they have you vote again. And then they drop it. So basically, usually you vote 3 times, which means at least 40% of people, it's their third choice. It's usually the least polarizing film that wins. Not necessarily the one that got the most number 1 votes or the one people are most passionate about. It's the least polarizing movie that usually wins Best Picture. Sometimes it's still the best one, like last year. Parasite was easily the best picture last year and it won Best Picture. But a lot of times, you know, it's the safe bet. So I think Nomadland might be a bit polarizing. I think, you know, some people it just didn't work for. I still think it has the best shot, but you're not going to be happy about this, Dino. I think Minari could win.
Wow.
I mean, if Minari wins, I'll applaud it. I just maybe once again, the curse or the blessing of watching at home, maybe in the comfort of my home and whatever I need to watch this movie because it was a SAG screener and the SAG Awards are coming up and I needed to vote and I needed to watch and maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind as opposed to I noticed that I kind of unconsciously prepped to go to the movie theater because, you know, that's a night out and so forth and so on. And we have to make sure and so forth. You know, maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind. Maybe I need to watch it again. Hope, especially after I talk to you two, whenever I think about a certain film and I have a certain opinion about it, you guys make me think twice about it. So kudos to both of you for doing that. Minari for Best Picture. Not the Trial of the Chicago 7 because I love Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah,
I love Aaron Sorkin dialogue. I do.
I do too. I'm a sucker for it. I know he can shoot over people's heads sometimes, but I'm a sucker for it as well. And it did just win the Ensemble Award at SAG. Which can, as Hope said, that can be an indicator. I don't think it is this time. I don't think it has a chance to win. I think she's right, even though I didn't love Minari as much. I think it could be a spoiler. I would love to see Judas and the Black Messiah because it's so good.
I would have no problem with that.
And also, it's worth noting that I believe it's the first Best Picture nominee to have all
Black producers.
Black producers.
The first one in history.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, my choice, it would be, which is weird because they're so very different, would be either Nomadland or Judas and the Black Messiah. I thought those two, it's hard to say which is better because it's really apples and oranges. They're such
I know, right?
But they were, for me, easily the best films of the year. So I'm thrilled either way. I like Minari a lot, though. But if it wins, I think it's going to win because of that multiple voting situation where it kind of waters it down.
And you talk about multiple voting. Didn't Mank have the most nominations?
Yeah, nobody's mentioned Mank for a win.
I love Mank. I love it. I don't think it has a chance of winning.
No.
If it did, I'd be fine with it. I loved it.
I would be surprised. Mank was very polarizing.
It was.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, people loved it. And I think, you know, you get nominations, the people from a specific category, people who have already been nominated, cinematographers nominate cinematographers, right? Directors nominate directors.
Sure.
Everybody votes for Best Picture. So,
Right.
So I feel like, it was a very polarizing film. I thought it was glorious. I thought it was amazing. And I thought Oldman was just fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a shot at winning.
Why?
Because it's
Because
too
it's
polarizing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we talked about before. It's got this style and it's got this vision that if you're in, sort of like Sorkin's dialogue, if it hooks you, you're all in. If it doesn't, you just. I think I saw a comment pop up. Somebody called it a snooze fest, and I know this person was not the only person that thought that. If you're not in, you are out, and you are out early.
But also, you know, if there is a predictor, and again, because of the way they vote, it's not as strong a predictor. But if there is, it's the Producers Guild Award, which went to Nomadland.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Reminded me of what was the movie? The
a lot of characters, you know, when you mentioned the BAFTAs and you see certain things with certain films, I will agree with you, George. The fact that it won the Best Ensemble at the SAG Awards, Trial of Chicago 7, does not mean anything for the Oscars because that truly was.
It was.
It was an ensemble cast. It was a great ensemble cast. Everybody in that movie, you know, contributed as a whole to the outcome of it. So it was a very enjoyable watch. And yeah, I admit I'm a sucker for Sorkin dialogue. You know, I sat through his first. What was the first film he actually directed that was out a couple of years ago?
Molly's Game.
Yeah, right. I think Molly's Game was a great movie overall, as far as a debut director's effort.
It was all right.
It was fine.
I got sucked into his dialogue, much like I have with just about every Sorkin film I've ever watched.
Yeah.
And all those episodes of The West Wing that he was responsible for prior to.
Well, and I thought he really did a good job with Chicago 7 in making, and it's hard to do, making courtroom scenes
Right.
exciting.
Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
I agree. That's the one of the few I saw, and I was like, they jump right into the trial. Go, let's see the riots. Come on, let's see the action. But yeah, you have to sit through it. I just want to do a quick shout out to Sound of Metal. I know they probably won't win, but as like an audio guy, I really dug it because the drummer was deaf, and there's just the soundscape that they use is amazing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's absolutely phenomenal. And that's one that I am sorry more people didn't see in a big screen, because I feel like that the effect of the sound quality in that film would have been so much more pronounced in a theater.
Yeah.
It was amazing what he did, the director did with that.
Yep, yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, all right. So shall we recap very quickly?
Wait, hold on, real quick. I thought I didn't realize we'd be done. The other thing I wanted to hear you 2 cents on. You guys mentioned, and I've seen some fodder about I Care a Lot. Where does that fall? Do you think they got snubbed? Do you think no way at all? Because I can kind of compare that to the Promising Young Woman, kind of like the quirky drama, not really, not a comedy, not a thriller, but kind of right in there. Or am I just giving I Care a Lot too much credit?
No, we enjoyed it. I Care a Lot. We really did. I don't think it comes close to Promising Young Woman.
No, you know what? I did think it was incredibly clever the way it was structured, because you kept, as an audience, not knowing who exactly you were rooting for. Everybody was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They were all terrible people that you should be rooting against, including the old lady people, if you realize, And I thought that was fascinating, the way they just kept turning it so you were automatically rooting for, Rosamund Pike's character, but you shouldn't. You knew you shouldn't. You're like,
right.
She's a final girl. She's horrible. She's a terrible person. I really thought that the direction and writing in that, and the performances as well, were so clever and so unusual, and the direction was masterful in the way that it used the audience's preconceived notions against them.
But I also thought it was more outright comedic than Promising Young Woman, because there's such an ugliness underneath Promising Young Woman that drives it. It is a very dark comedy, and it is funny, yes, but the underlying premise is so ugly and unpleasant. And even though what's at the heart of I Care a Lot is certainly an issue, especially for people that didn't realize this sort of thing is going on in the healthcare field.
Hello. That's why I'm in Florida at my mother's condo, because that's not going to happen. Let's go in there. So put it with me first, because I care a lot.
Yeah.
All right, that's my 2 cents. I saw that someone had mentioned Rosamund Pike's snub, and I agree. I thought it was a cool, and I guess I've just kind of equated them kind of a similar genre, I guess. You know,
what was the release date on that, Greg? Well, I mean, I thought
this year. It was in this year. It was in this year that people were talking.
It wasn't that long ago.
But I thought the release date was after January 1st.
Like maybe it'll be
the Oscars accepted things until the end of March this year.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they did, which is weird because I'm curious if that, or the end of February, I'm curious if that means it'll be a 10-month window for.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what confused me then.
I mean, it's very weird.
The end of February.
End of February.
Yeah.
So.
All right then.
Yeah, when they went late. I mean, the Oscars are later this year than they've ever been.
Right.
Yeah, Hansberry, good catch on that particular comment, because I was going to go back and just take a quick look at some of the other comments. Is it too late? Chip, our buddy Chip says, is it too late to vote for Citizen Kane?
You're a few decades late, but we appreciate the effort.
If anybody is a fan of the movie Citizen Kane, then you need to indulge yourself and watch Mank, because you
really
find out that Orson Welles was kind of a dick. Right? in respects to that movie, which garnered so many nominations and only won for something that Welles had nothing to do with.
The guy who played Orson Welles in Mank was awesome. I don't know who that was. He did a great job.
It was. Mank is.
Sorry.
If you look at Mank, you'll love Mank. If not, you might consider it to be somewhat of a snooze fest.
Our buddy Clark Donnelly, news guy here in Columbus, Ohio, he watched them back to back. He watched Mank, and then the next night he watched Citizen Kane, and he said it was a lot of fun. You saw a lot of cool cinematography things that
because so many nice odes.
There's that one very clear callback in the movie Mank, but if you watched them back to back like that, I bet you'd be able to check out a bunch of things.
Yeah. Which is what I said about Judas and the Black Messiah and Trial of Chicago 7. You see certain pieces of history kind of be a footnote in one movie, but expanded in another one. Interesting. Someone said, Hope dropping the bombshell. Minari for the win.
Oh,
drop the bombshell, Hope.
I will on my ballot, it will still say Nomadland, but I won't be surprised if Minari is the one that takes it.
Okay. McGrainer, our friend Mike McGrainer showed up. Seeing Nomadland in IMAX was pretty great.
So, it would be. That's one. Yeah, that's one that would be fantastic on a big screen like that. Yeah.
Cosbeck also agrees with you, George. Soul was another amazing Pixar film that should have been in the mix. I look forward to going back to the theaters, but I'm kind of almost worried how comfortable I'm getting with some of these films that are just immediately streaming on Netflix.
You're not the only one, especially
and HBO Max. You know, when a Warner Brothers release comes straight to HBO Max, one of the theaters, I'm like, okay, you know.
And the big thing, think of the families for a movie like Soul or any of the Pixar movies. If they pay one price, even a premium price for a family of say 4, it's still cheaper.
Yeah, and you can watch it.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I don't know, just to make sure people might be aware of it. If you want to see the best Picture nominees, all of them are going to play at Gateway Film Center on Oscar weekend.
Mhm.
So you can see all of them on the big screen. They're going to spread it out like a festival, so there will be no crowding. And that just gives you a shot to see. For example, I'm very eager to see Sound of Metal on a big screen because I didn't, and I'm eager to see, as I said, Judas and the Black Messiah on a big screen because I didn't.
And not only that, but if you like short films and always wonder how you can see the best short film nominees, they'll be showing on the big screen as well.
Yeah,
and we've seen them all. They're great too.
They are so great.
Oh, maybe one of these years we'll do a very niche podcast over the short films because we've all collectively been a part of that process as well. Even as we speak, you guys have been involved in some great short films here as of late. I love the fact that you're getting into those waters a little deeper, and with each step, Hope and George are doing some fun things that I'm sure they're making you aware of. But they have.
The last one we saw of yours, The Supper, is that because you're great in it? Is that available anywhere?
Supper is not available yet anywhere except you can see it on my website. It's not on Whiskey Business's website. I don't know why it isn't. Why isn't it?
It's on DinoTrapotis.com, right?
It's on DinoTrapotis.com. You can see it there. But I think because we're in
I shot that one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
Greg Hansberry was the Uber driver, but that scene got cut.
Yeah,
I dropped off the guy. I dropped off the.
I don't remember an Uber driver.
Which I shot with our mutual friend John Osbeck is
I dropped off Osbeck's character.
Can be seen on DinoTrapotis.com, my website, but I think we're just limiting it to that right now because it's in festival submission, and we've only heard from one festival. We got like 9 or 12 more that we sit patiently and wait for. But thank you. I sent it to you guys because I respected your opinions and so. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I'm a big fan of yours, and that's why I sent you Supper so you could see it. And thank you for everything as kind as you've been to us. Hope you wrote a nice column about Street Where We Live when we first put that out a couple of years ago. Speaking of
very appreciated.
Low budget films that have nothing but heart and soul.
And you can see that now, right on Tubi.
What's that?
It's on Tubi. It's on
Tubi. Is it Tubi or is it Tubi? You're the navigation lady.
Everyone should watch it.
Is it GIF? Is it GIF? What is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it did. It found a whole new audience on Tubi TV and something else.
YouTube. It's free on YouTube as well.
Yeah, it found a whole new audience.
We got a lot of views on YouTube.
Actually, it found more people there than it did on Amazon.
Between
us and anybody.
Let's not talk about those freaking thieves. Anyway.
But
Bezos.
Keep doing what you guys do. I mean, I love the fact that you two work together and review films together and agree to disagree sometimes, and sometimes you're on the same page. And I love the fact that you're also stepping out of your box into a very, very dangerous place. It is so bold for people who review movies to start making movies, because then you become
the hunted.
Yeah,
that's right.
Side of it now, where somebody can now judge you.
Yep.
That's bold. That's bold to do that.
You're like, oh, wait a second, this is really hard.
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult than I thought. I apologize for some of the things that I said before, or not.
So true.
Is there anything else you guys want to push or plug before we start to say goodbye and wrap it up?
Well, we've got our main website is madwolf.com. It's mad with 2 Ds. And we've got all of our written reviews there. And then we've got our Facebook page, which is Mad Wolf Columbus. And then, as you mentioned earlier, we've got 2 podcasts. Every Friday, we've got the Screening Room, where we talk about all the new releases of the week. And then every other Monday, we've got our horror movie only podcast called Fright Club, where we take a different topic of horror movies and count down our top 5 or top 6, or that's usually the way we do it. So if you like horror movies, come sit next to us.
Yeah.
Nice.
If you get the opportunity to sit next to them and you love horror movies, they'll be in for a treat, because they'd be fun people to sit next to. That was probably one of my favorite guests on a podcast I can recall in the last bunch of years when I was on your podcast talking about Bride of Frankenstein. That's still one of my favorites.
That was great. Thank you. Yeah.
Still one of my favorites. So thank you, Hope and George, Hope Madden, George Wolf. Check them out. All the things they just. Are you guys still doing a thing on Fox? Are you still?
Oh yeah. Every Friday morning at 9:30, we're on Good Day Columbus with the weekly movie reviews. Usually 2 or 3 films we get to talk about. So that we've been doing that for a couple of years now. So we
you have. See?
Yeah.
You're becoming quite respected and depended upon for opinions.
Yes. Now we got to get you back in the studio, man.
I do. I insist upon this podcast each and every year. I just can't wait till we're actually face to face again.
Yeah.
And hopefully this time next year we can debate them a little bit more and and face to face so I can see some of the unspoken body language from
That's right.
that I can't see on video, that I can't see when we're face to face.
Right. Well, we'll drink to that.
We'll drink to that. The guest bottle, once again, has been the Oregon Spirit Bottled and Bond single barrel whiskey, $75 a bottle. I don't know if it's available in Ohio. I apologize. I don't know. It's ordinary bourbon. It's got its wheat, your corn, your malted barley, and your rye, and you're on your own. It wasn't bad. I just wasn't blown away by it.
You were like, meh. You're a meh. Meh.
Kind of like Minari.
Oh.
It had some supporting roles in it that I really appreciated, but overall, a little lackluster for me.
Well played.
All right. Okay, guys. My thanks to John Whitney and Greg Hansberry. Thank you, boys. I appreciate it. My mother is probably very anxious to get out in the living room and watch the Hallmark Channel on her screen instead of the small one in the bedroom. So I can take care of my mom. I'm going to start signing off by saying, until the next bottle, see ya.